Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. We are back from a bye week here with my good buddy, colleague, pal, chum, friend, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, what's going on, my friend?
I'm just glad we are Penn State lost to the Buckeyes. And even though I know this is take two because I already disrailed us once, I will try not to disrail us again.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into college football because we are back from a bye week. Pittsburgh Steelers, week 10 already, week 10 of the NFL season. Second half of the Steelers schedule starting, 9 games remaining on the slate. They are headed to Washington to this, Northwest Field or whatever they call it now, whatever they call this team now, to face the Commanders. 7-2 Commanders, no longer a joke. You can make all the fun you want about them changing names and being a football team, football club, whatever they were. Now they're the Commanders, and they're 7-2. They are a new look.
They are commanding.
They are commanding. They are leading in the NFC. Well, we used to call it the NFC least. We can't even say that anymore.
Say it about the Cowboys and the Giants, but
well, yeah, they still put up a pretty good fight in the Steelers. One of the 2 losses that they have, 2 of the losses by 3 points.
Yeah,
I mean this one looks tough, Brian, because if they lose to the Commanders, the Steelers heading on the road here, we know there's sometimes they're a little slow coming out of the bye. And this isn't playing down to a team. Are they looking ahead to an AFC North matchup, their first division matchup a week later with Baltimore? Is their mind somewhere else? Or they got big heads on their shoulders because they're 6-2? Are they a facade? Are they for real? Did they play anybody of substance up to this point? Which I would argue, yes, they have. It's just that this part of the schedule looked like it was going to be tougher. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be.
It will be. Here's the thing. This is the most dynamic and prolific offense they have played thus far this year, right? The Commanders are routinely putting up 40+ points. And they just I remember, what was it? 2 months ago or like game 4, I said, "Man, this is going to be a problem. These guys don't punt ever."
That was legitimate. You're probably watching like the same game that I was. And yeah. I apologize, folks. It was good. We had a bye week. I was saying this on the side. Brian just had a swig of whatever. How many of those things do you go through in a like even just an hour? You've already killed one, and we barely started the show. Oh, you've killed two since we started talking.
So that I have 2 open right now. So that would be 4. I will probably kill these before the show is over and wish I could open another one, but then I'll try not to, so not everybody has to listen to me go through the can.
You sound like Stone Cold Steve Austin crack it open. Actually, it's like the Coors Light when they have that and then the bullet train comes through and everything from the Rockies. But yeah, man, my throat, my sinuses and allergies, this time change, it could all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to try and have a voice for as long as I can about many things. We're going to get into this Commanders stuff, but I think we should actually pull back for just a second because we had some Steelers news. This isn't your granddaddy's Pittsburgh Steelers. This isn't even your father's Pittsburgh Steelers. This is Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, making some more moves at the trade deadline, adding Mike Williams from the New York Jets, who we teasingly said when he was leaving a few weeks ago from Acrisure, you'll be back. Welcome back. Welcome home, all this stuff. And then, of course, Preston Smith, surprise, edge rusher. Jerry Dulac had tweeted right after the Mike Williams trade that, hold on, the Steelers might not be done. And I thought, are they going to ship somebody out? Because this roster seems rather overloaded. You've got a lot of players coming back, and we'll get into that. But first things first, Mike Williams, Flash is excited. We were excited. We were talking about it's a wide receiver. He's got his visor game going. So Flash is excited about Mike Williams joining the Steelers. I will say this much. I liked Mike Williams. I liked him coming out of college. I thought he's going to be the next big thing. He's had injuries in his career. Maybe not as derailed as some other players like Michael Thomas, for example, formerly of the Saints. he did. I know a lot of people are like, is this guy just going to join the Steelers after doing nothing with the Jets and turn things around and have a good season?
I don't know. Look, I think Mike Williams can benefit from what Russell Wilson does good, what he does best. I think Mike Williams can handle the combat catches. I think he can do a lot of the same things that George Pickens does, but he is a bigger body than George Pickens, and it makes it more difficult for teams to just double team George Pickens all the time. Mike Williams is going to get open. He's going to catch balls. He's going to be able to take advantage of the moon ball that Russ throws. The question is whether or not he is made of glass and will survive, right? Especially in AFC North football, because there's a lot of AFC North football coming up. And can he weather that storm? Is he healthy and consistently going to be there? Don't know the answer to that. I'm not, as we were talking, considering what the numbers are, he's a rental. He's going to be around for a year, for the rest of this season. We'll see. After that, who knows? I like Mike Williams. I liked him all the time, except when Clemson was playing Ohio State when I hated him. But that what it is.
Yeah, I remember that too. That's one of the reasons. Like, he had an outstanding game when it was those. It was Deshaun Watson back then too as his QB,
yes,
was it not? Yeah, I mean, Watson was a hell of a player in college. Not so much these days.
To be fair, he was a hell of a player in Texas.
He was. Yeah.
For the Texans.
Yeah.
No. Took the year off, got hurt. Way too many massages, whatever.
And went to, the graveyard for everyone's NFL career, which is
all quarterbacks. Yeah,
Cleveland.
The graveyard for all quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mike Williams for me, statistically, maybe, I will say there's something to be said about just the Jets in general right now. Do we think the Jets were a good football team or are a good football team? There are many, many people that are out there who, how do I want to say this eloquently? It's kind of like the same thing with Cleveland. They see things on paper. They think something's going to be a dream team. And we're sitting here like, well, hold on. And there was a lot of people who got blindsided or surprised because they got caught up with some of the hype. Aaron Rodgers, for example. I'm not sure he still has it. Nathaniel Hackett as an offensive coordinator. That guy couldn't hack it as a head coach. How much of that was LaFleur in Green Bay? So when you're talking about that and you look at what George Pickens went through with Matt Canada as a comparison, maybe Mike Williams still has something left. Now, we've seen Allen Robinson. We've gotten excited about a 30-year-old wide receiver who's put up 1,000-yard seasons and multiple double-digit touchdown seasons in the past and been burned by it. But we're, in the same case, we're not looking for Mike Williams to be wide receiver one here. It's got to be a complement that takes some of the double teams off of not only George Pickens, but allows guys like Pat Freiermuth or Calvin Austin to open up. Calvin Austin's starting to come into his own a little bit, but the Steelers were really just, and this is going to be the same thing when we talk about Preston Smith, maybe an injury away from disaster and having this 6-2 season squandered. So for Omar Khan to go out there and make some of these moves, it was very important.
Absolutely. When you look at this, all right, you got George Pickens as your one, you've got Mike Williams as your two. That allows you to play guys like Calvin Austin in the slot, speed in the slot, right? It allows Freiermuth to maybe get opened up. It makes the offense more dynamic, right? And this is why I'm encouraged and feel like Williams can benefit from the situation that he's being thrust in. In 2 games, Russ Williams has made Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin names that you talked about.
Yes.
So, give him somebody like Mike Williams that fits his strengths, right? Russ has always been a guy who likes to go deep. Mike Williams is a guy you can go deep to, right? And throw up a contested catch, a 50-50 ball, and he's likely to come down with it. So I like all that. I think it puts the offense in a good position because if they can throw the ball consistently, that's going to open up the running lanes. You're going to get, hopefully, Zach Frazier back. Not that McCollum's done a bad job. They have done a good job. But if you get healthy along the line, you get that continuity back there. That opens up running lanes for Najee and Jaylen Warren. The offense can just start to click, right? The Smith move, I think, is very important. We don't know how long or when Nick. I don't know if Nick Herbig's going to be back or not. I don't know how long he's going to be out. having another consistent piece of depth, even once he comes back, because he's already been hurt. Highsmith has been hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know
Yes.
TJ sometimes can get hurt because he goes all out, right? If we lost another outside linebacker without any other depth, and we were relying on Jeremiah Moon and whoever else we could find, we got problems. So it's all good moves to try and help boost things down the line. It's funny, a friend of mine who's a Packers fan and lives in the great Northwest. I think he lives in Oregon now, but he's a Packers fan. He's been a Packers fan his whole life. I used to give him crap when I'd call Aaron Rodgers Mr. Overrated. But he called me. He's like, "Oh, you got Smith. Well, it's time to get the ring then."
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Smith is a nice compliment. He's never been given any honors like a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but a very consistent player. He's probably going to be better against the run than Nick Herbig is anyways. Can you roll with a Jeremiah Moon, or I can't say the other guy's name. He's got like a open day. Yeah, I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about Larry Ogunjobi, but yeah, he's got like one of those kind of.
I don't even know why I can
names.
say Ogunjobi, right? I can say Ogunjobi. I couldn't say Ole Abalebale, whatever his name was. Right?
Ola Adnei.
Yeah, I couldn't say his name, but I can say Ogunjobi.
Yeah, and I'm gonna find. I don't like to disparage anybody, but there's quite a few players. There's moves that had to be made because there's like 5 players like involved this week in various interactions coming from different directions, off a suspension list, off of injured reserve, these trades. I agree with you, Brian. I'm trying not to lose my voice here. I totally apologize, folks. Hopefully this goes away. It's like a twice a year thing. So it's every time we change the clocks and the seasons change. Man, I'll tell you what, it's almost like I can't talk. I can't like breathe properly. So I'm going to come in with like one of those breathe right strips over my nose, like the players' ways.
Get you some Flonase, man. I got Flonase. It helps me.
Oh, man. Let me tell you what, though, like the Mucinex, like totally, my throat would be like I've just been drinking sand all day. Like it just dries me out. So I didn't want to do that before the show, but I'm screwed.
Thing, right?
I'm screwed right now.
Thing. Don't get that Mucinex crap. That's crap.
But anyway, okay, so Mike Williams, 1 year.
Flonase, become a sponsor. I just pitched you. Flonase.
I'm going to say Mike Williams for a 5th round pick. It'll be the lesser of the 2 5th round picks that the Pittsburgh Steelers have.
Yep.
I feel that's worth it. And he's only due like maybe $2 million. The Jets signed him 1 year for $15 million. So I was lukewarm on something like that in free agency. I don't want people to get confused. It's a lot of like what I say is what else comes with the player. It was like, okay, if you're going to trade for Cooper Kupp, what are you giving up for Cooper Kupp? Are you giving up like a 1st or 2nd round pick? Brandon Ayuk? Hell no. No, none of those. None of the above. DK Metcalf? He's a little younger and he had a decent contract. I could maybe justify a 2 for him. So a lot of it has to do with what the business transaction is, what the player is owed, and how that impacts future team and roster building, right? Always got my eye looking down the road, not just for this season, but for the following. So, of course, Brian, we know they have to pay a quarterback. That's what we've been talking about. Well, it's been no secret that Omar Khan wanted to go out and get a wide receiver. I just think it's kind of funny that the Commanders go out and make this trade for Marshawn Lattimore to get a corner, and it's like, oh, well, now we're going to add another wide receiver, so we're going to negate maybe this positive addition to your team, although we don't know if he's going to play. He was a DNP for practice yesterday. So, but I like the thought of Williams. He's played a lot of snaps. He hasn't had a lot of targets go his way. He's caught 12 passes. 9 of those have been first downs. So he's moved the chains one way or another. I'm just not sure that the way the offense was structured with New York, it suits his game. And you go back, and I guess he comes to Pittsburgh having already worked with, am I going to say the name right? Zach Azzini, the wide receivers coach, the new wide receivers coach in Pittsburgh this year. So they've already got a relationship there. He understands maybe what the task is going to be. He's getting on a moving train. I think he's got some cliff notes already with a coach that can help him do that. He also had his best years. I mean, pretty much only played for the Chargers, right? But Keenan Allen, when Keenan Allen was healthy and was there and you had both those guys on the field, they wreaked havoc. And I think that George Pickens and Williams could complement each other in much of the same way. So I'm excited about that because it's low cost. I understand it's a 1-year rental. There's nothing to say that he couldn't return if this is a successful year, but he is 30 years old now. So we know that wide receivers will typically start to trail off around 31 or 32 years of age. Now, Preston Smith, you hit the nail on the head, my friend. We don't know. This to me was signaling that maybe Herbig isn't 100% to go out there. They're not going to force him to go out there, but they need something else. And they've done this in the past. They did it with Reed, that they came over from the Broncos. They've done it with Marcus Golden. You try and get some type of veteran depth. Smith, 32nd birthday, might even be today. He was right at like 31 and 355 days when I looked him up. Something like that. So his birthday is right around the corner. Could even be just as we head into this upcoming weekend, right? So he's maybe not a long-term guy. His numbers are down, but so is his playing time in Green Bay. He's been playing about 50%, sometimes fewer snaps. They got that Lucas Van Ness that's playing out there now, and they kind of feel like they're moving along, but it's kind of an odd move for a Packers team with a winning record that's in dire competition with Minnesota and Detroit in that division. And they get rid of a pass rusher.
What was the score in that Detroit Packers game that was going to be the big giant showdown? How bad did they get spanked? I don't remember. Or did they not get spanked and it was really close? I don't remember.
You put me on the spot. It was 24-14 is what it ended up.
Okay. Speaking of which, what's his name getting ejected from that game was the ref stink moment. That was ridiculous.
Trying to think what that was now,
Brian
but you're
Branch.
right. Yes, Brian.
Foul.
Oh my goodness, what such a great player Branch has turned out to be. I'm so jealous. I remember thinking, I'm like, I really wanted this guy. Didn't end up getting him, and that was kind of sad. But anyway, Smith, that will help keep TJ Watt fresh on the sideline. He's not going to have to play maybe 90% of the game or 100% of the game like he just did.
Yep.
And you've also got a Thursday night game coming around the corner, and you got to have rotational bodies. You look at what Andy Weidl did when he was there in Philadelphia. They had like 8 dudes on that defensive line that they could like really move anybody in and out. It really felt like that kind of move. You get somebody that's a veteran pass rusher, somebody that gets to the quarterback frequently enough. He just doesn't have the numbers on the stat sheet so far this year, and it's because of younger guys that have been taking his playing time, and now they were ready to move on. He has a pretty healthy contract beyond this, but this still looks like a 1-year rental with the 7th-round pick for the exchange. By all means, 7th-round picks don't always even make. You're talking about pick 250 maybe with the Steelers. If they're a playoff team, it's going to be in that range, 230, something just really late in the draft. Doesn't mean that player is going to make the roster no matter what it is, position-wise or player-wise. I'm good with it. I have absolutely no problem with what they gave up for either one of these trades. I'm not going to say that they won the trade deadline, but they made some moves.
I think they did well.
Yes. They did well.
How it plays out, we don't know. It's like, thing looks nice on paper. If we start playing and Mike Williams stinks, well, then it wasn't a good deal, right? But if he lights it up, it was a great deal. It was a steal, right? Oh, Marcon is a magician again. If he's just so-so, it's like, all right, it was fine. The same thing, with Smith. Who knows? I'm not happy about some of the deals that got made on other teams like the Ravens, but
I was going to bring up the other AFC North trades because they weren't the only ones that did it. Now, the Browns have gotten, I think, progressively worse, trading away Amari Cooper and Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith's the guy who made Myles Garrett that much better. Now, I know Garrett went out there and had like 3 sacks the other day where they got like wiped by the Chargers. We know the Chargers don't have like the best offensive line. They have a young offensive line and one that's dealing with injuries too. So it's like, okay, Garrett went out there and it's like, okay, Zadarius Smith, see you later. And they also got rid of the one defensive lineman, and I'm just like, they're falling apart at the seams right now. The Ravens, they add a guy that he's not going to be ready to play. It was a great player in Buffalo, Tre'Davious White, but There's a reason the Rams got rid of him too. He's not what he was. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they need all the help they could get because they've been dealing with injuries with Wiggins and Humphrey, and they're looking at the same thing. We got to play the Steelers twice. We got to play the Bengals. Thursday night and whatnot.
This is another thing. I talked about the fact that the Commanders have routinely been putting up big numbers. So have the Ravens, and except when they played the Browns. But let's be fair and understand that for whatever reason, they're not only did they drop interceptions left and right, but they drop passes left and right too. But that's the way the ball bumbles. So I don't know. I am let's say I'm more annoyed that Deontay Johnson went to the Ravens than I am about the Tre'Davious White thing.
And Johnson hasn't been the healthiest either. And I don't know that they throw the ball enough. He's not a blocking wide receiver. I feel like he's an odd fit for that team.
Let's just throw it behind him, or when he's not in the let's just watch him try and figure out when he's not in a play, because then we can attack from that side.
Can we book me for this one? Lamar Jackson throwing on a comeback route, and our corners have that scouted. Joey Porter Jr. interception. Because you'll be able to smell it.
Because
it's the best route he runs.
Gives up on the play.
Yeah.
Not going to get there. Oh, he picked it off. It's not my job.
Yep, just book me for it, Dano. So among the other moves, I know we got a lot to talk about with Washington. They got a high-scoring offense. The Ravens do too. I think they're like neck and neck for the top offenses in the league. Defensively, though, they kind of both teams have their cracks. Dan Quinn is a defensive coach. Cliff Kingsbury, their offensive coordinator, doing a great job. He came over with the Steelers. It's just like, whoa, you imagine how much more. But I really like Arthur Smith. I think you'll find a way to use Mike Williams most efficiently. It seems like every player has their role, has the coaching fits what the player or works with the player for the player fit, and doesn't try to force the player into doing something they're not best suited for, so to speak. So that's why I'm a little more bullish maybe on Williams being better here than he was in New York. Plus, I'm biased.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I think the deadline moves, the trade deadline moves were good moves. I think they're solid moves. I think they have potential. I'm going to say it like potatoes. They have potential to pan out. But we'll see. I don't know what else they could have done, to be frank. There were no other real receiving targets that they could have easily gotten for the same value.
Yeah, let me ask that real quick, because Christian Kirk was supposedly ready to come from Jacksonville.
But he's hurt, isn't he?
He broke his collarbone or whatever. He's out for the year. So, he was supposed to, but let's say he would have been healthy. I wasn't really that over the moon on Christian Kirk. I just don't know that he ever lived up to his potential.
Do I think he's any better or any worse than Mike Williams? I don't know. Mike Williams probably has more legacy, but he's older. So, how much more does he have left in the tank? I don't know. It wouldn't have mattered to me either way. I think if they could have gotten before he got hurt, maybe it would have been nice. Again, it would depend. What's the compensation? What do you have to give up to get him? If the answer is something a lot more than what they gave up to get Mike Williams, I don't know that I'm interested in doing that.
Yeah, and Kirk had more money. He had a $15 million base salary for next year, and he's already 28 going on 29. So he's actually up there. He didn't even realize it.
Yeah, not that much younger.
Yeah, not that much younger. So, and 5'11", 200, completely different style of player.
Totally
he's more like
kind of guy.
More like another Calvin Austin type.
We got that guy. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We already got that guy. And we haven't been able to play him where he's best suited to play. Now we can probably play him where he's best suited to play.
I said there was like 5 moves that had to happen with this roster, right? And where were they going to make some cuts? I think we were talking about this. You and I were even texting when some of these moves were being made. So you have Mike Williams, you got Preston Smith, and then you might have Tyler Matakevich coming back off of IR, strictly a special teams player. Like, who else gets moved? Mike Tomlin dropped the bombshell in his press conference. Corey Trice might be on his way back as well. So some more cornerback reinforcements. You've got Cameron Sutton coming off suspension. You've already mentioned Zach Frazier, but there wasn't any kind of movement there where he was placed on an injured reserve. But there is quite a few. And I got another name I want to throw out here. We've heard zero about this, but we've been talking about, you're like, okay, they're going to make all these trades. Where's the holes at? Well, at the beginning of the season, we're talking wide receiver, and they finally got their guy. So it looks like, okay, that's taken care of. We knew that was needed. Maybe some extra edge depth. Well, Herbig's pretty good. Well, we don't know his status, his health right now. They go out and get Preston Smith. There's insurance policy. Great. This is looking good now. Alex Highsmith's healthy again. TJ Watt is playing at the top of his game. Where else could they possibly make moves? It seems like they have a plethora of defensive linemen. Offensive line, I don't think you want to mess with that too much. You don't know what's going to happen there with some of those other guys. Cordero Patterson's coming back. The fill running back and kick returner role. It just seems like there's so much there. Even the tight ends, you've got 3 or 4 guys. They had to release Rodney Williams in order to make a spot for one of these transactions because Michael Pruitt was back, and you've still got Connor Hayward along with Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth. There's so many names we're throwing around, and you forget it's like even the safeties. You've got Minka Fitzpatrick, you've got Deshaun Elliott, you've got DeMonte Casey, you've got Terrell Edmonds. And you're going to pair up Sutton and Beanie Bishop and maybe use them. Tomlin said it might not be an either or. You're going to use those guys simultaneously. Beanie Bishop really coming into his own as of late, too, and looking like a dude. So outside corner, Joey Porter Jr., Sutton could play an outside corner. He could move him around. You've got Dante Jackson. Corey Trice might be back. So James Pierre, you don't really want to see him out on the field, but he was there for special teams. I mean, they seem like really deep everywhere. Linebackers, inside linebackers. You've got Patrick Queen. You've got Peyton Wilson. You've got a Landon Roberts. We're talking about Matakevich. You forget Mark Robinson somewhere on that roster. He don't even see any time on defense.
Yep.
What about
Cole Holcomb?
What about Cole Holcomb? I feel like nobody has said anything, and this injury that happened with him was close to a year ago. You have to imagine if he's going to return and play football at some point, and if he's going to get on this moving train in the Steelers, what if his name gets thrown in the hat, he gets activated? I'm not going to say he's going to come back and be the player he was, but what if he is, and you pair him with Patrick Queen, you give somebody for Peyton Wilson to, kind of mentor him and kind of pattern behind, and you've got 3 fresh bodies like that. I don't give a damn what the Ravens are going to throw at you. Like, look at what they could throw on defense. They could throw like anything out there. They could have like 8 linebackers on the field, which we've seen 5 linebackers on the field against Lamar Jackson to slow him down in his legs. And they might need that against the Derrick Henry, And when you guys that could go like sideline to sideline like that, it's an interesting thought. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but there's maybe yet one more reinforcement that could come. And that's the same thing with Fautanu. We don't know. We get to December, he might be back in the pipeline too to help pitch in on the offensive line.
So here's the thing I will say about with Cole Holcomb. I'm not going to be upset if Cole Holcomb comes back, right? If Cole Holcomb comes back and is even a semblance of the player he was, all it does is make you better, right? But I really, really like how Peyton Wilson is developing, and I don't want to stop that, right? I don't want to do anything that slows that progress down. You can tell this playing time has been really good for him. He is quick to the ball now. He's analyzing plays better. He's becoming the tackling machine he was in college. I'm not desperate for Cole Holcomb, is I guess what it is. And the fact that we haven't heard boo about Cole Holcomb and people aren't asking about Cole Holcomb also tells you a lot about what Peyton Wilson's been able to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. Of course, Peyton Wilson's the future. Holcomb still signed through 2 years. Roberts, this is his final year of his contract. And then, of course, Patrick Queen, the big star of free agency. So how does all of this now come together against... You've got a juggernaut on this schedule, and it starts with the Washington Commanders. And I know this is supposed to be the pregame show, but there's just so many other factors in here. It seems like it's coming together. This break was at a perfect time for the Steelers to now get prepared and ready. You've gotten Russell Wilson installed. You've got some confidence in the offense with those 2 games. And now instead of, the way it had been for like the last 3-4 years, if the Steelers get into a shootout, which isn't necessarily likely with this defense. It could happen. We've seen cracks, but now we know, oh, shucks, we're down, it's a 2-score game. You're not worried that they can't come back from that and even quickly come back from that. That's definitely a positive, especially so adding Mike Williams into this mix and with Russell Wilson. It's still early in this Russell Wilson regime, but we haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise that he would look bad. Now, the Commanders defensively is where we have to look first because we've been talking Steelers offense, right? The Commanders, they're perfect at home. They're 4-0. Defensively, they allow only about 21 points per game. That's 11th in the National Football League. Okay. Pretty solid. It's a Dan Quinn squad. We saw what's happened with the Dallas Cowboys with Dan Quinn gone from there now and Mike Zimmer leading that defense. They have fallen apart. And, of course, not having Micah Parsons and some of those guys has a lot to do with that, too. Yeah. I look at some of the teams that the Buccaneers are an okay team, but they lost. The Commanders, one of their two losses. The other one came at the Baltimore Ravens. So they've beaten the Giants, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Panthers, the Bears, and then the Giants. And the Bears and the Giants games have actually been tighter. And we've seen even the Steelers against the Giants and the Giants last week too. Against this Commanders team, 22 points. They only allowed them to gain 27. The Bears were only able to that was an 18-15 game. Very tight. So
and they won on a Hail Mary.
Yeah, and they won on a Hail Mary, which is so it gives me some promise that the Steelers can maybe put the clamps down on this high-powered Commanders offense. But defensively, how do you attack them first, right? So Washington, they're 5th against the pass, and they're almost dead last against the run. And I know
which of course means we won't be able to run the ball at all.
Oh, well, I don't know. You get Frazier back out there. I think that's a little more promising. But you look at the Commanders' defense. They've had some of their struggles. I know I was going to bring up the injury report because there's quite a few names on here as with some of the starters, right? I mean,
the fact that they traded for Lattimore and they gave up some stuff, right? The Saints got a nice haul for Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, a third rounder and like a 4th or 5th and a swap or something. Yeah.
What that really tells you is that Washington believes in themselves right now, and they think that they're very close to being able to get in the playoffs and make some hay in the playoffs, right? They are bought in on their rookie quarterback. The thing is, he's still a rookie quarterback. As good as he looks, he's still a rookie quarterback. He can be, he can have mistakes. He can do things. He's a mobile quarterback. But the Steelers know how to deal with a mobile quarterback. We have to play one at least twice a year, right? The mobile quarterback in the league, right? So there are things that we can do. Look, I do think that they present a unique challenge because they are better than anybody thought they would be, right? When you open up the season and you looked at the Commanders game, you're like, oh, win, no problem, right? And I think by game 3, I was like, I don't know if this is a win anymore.
Yeah, they're this year's Texans for sure.
Yes.
And this is why a lot of people get the illusion that, hey, you could just change your coach, draft a quarterback, and then immediately, well, it doesn't work like that for everyone. Patriots, Panthers. Yeah. So to name just a couple teams. Defensively, the reason why I'm jumping back and forth here, Brian, I was trying to get to, let me see, injury report, because you've got Lattimore was a DMP with his hamstring. We'll see if he even plays this Sunday. I think they're going to try and get him on the field, obviously. You've got they're all over the place. You got Austin Seibert, who's a kicker. He's a DMP. You got a lot of limited guys. Dorrance Armstrong, Clellan Ferrell, Dante Fowler, Noah. I can't say his name, but that's a thumb injury. One of the several corners that they have. The reason they brought Lattimore here is because they have St. Juice. They have Emmanuel Forbes. They have some decent guys, but they've all been like it's the same area. That Mike Sanistrel's another one here. It's the same area as like the Steelers, right? Where they were getting like these middle round picks and it was tough. You put them out on the field and they didn't necessarily materialize into being able to stop the pass or the run in some cases, right? And you just kept You kept like recycling, getting some veteran here or there and seeing if it'll stick. Now they have Jeremy Chin as a safety. Like I said, Fowler. Most of these guys should play. You have an ageless Bobby Wagner in the middle of that defense as a middle linebacker. I do like Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's a guy.
How can you not?
I mean, I paid attention to his career for a very long time. He continues to do it. And it's incredible. It was somebody.
He's a future Hall of Fame player.
He was too expensive for the Steelers in the makeup of their salary cap, or else I would have loved to have added him. I don't know how he would have fit, but you have to think he would fit maybe even better in a 3-4 where there's somebody else with him. But it's just amazing. He's in his mid-30s and just continues to kill it. So Zach Ertz had a day of rest here. Tyler Biotish, starting center, thumb injury, limited. Brian Robinson, hamstring, limited. And then Andrew Wiley, starting offensive lineman, shoulder, limited. We'll see how many of these guys are good to go for Sunday. It's still early. We'll see, monitor their participation in practice. The Steelers, on their side, they had, excuse me again, Terrell Edmonds, illness, DMP. Isaac Seumalo had a day off. You had Nick Herbig starting to ramp up some of his work. Justin Fields, who showed up late on the previous injury report, and as to whether or not he was going to be a backup when they played the Giants, he appears to be a full participant. Tyler Matakevich, like I said, Cordero Patterson coming back, and Brian, another wide receiver. Now, Andy Isabella already got released off the practice squad, but Ben Skoranek, forgot about good old shifty Ben.
Whoever the hell that guy is.
Yeah, just another.
Zach probably knows who he is. I don't know who that
just is. Another in a long line of guys like a Scotty Miller, journeyman, can maybe give you a whatever floor and be out there and maybe not screw up. But he's not going to move. He can't move the needle like George Pickens or Mike Williams or prime Mike Williams, right?
There's something that to be said if your last name is Skoranek.
Skoranek.
And nobody's heard of you yet, then you're not that good. Because that's a name you'd remember. If you were hearing that name over and over again, you'd be like, oh, we got that Skoranek guy? Holy crap, that's great. No. Because you never hear of him, he's not probably, whatever.
Yeah, I hear you.
Happy to have your service, sir. Happy you're on the team, but whatever. You can't be that big a deal.
By the way, the linebacker I was talking about back to the practice squad was Aid Ogundeyi. So now I've got it. I think I stuck the landing on that one, but didn't want to.
Ogundeyi? Did I say it
right? Is that what I said? Yeah, sure. Okay. Anyways,
Ogunjobi Ogundeyi. See,
Ogundeyi.
Look, I can say some names. It's amazing.
Roach, and such the plain name. Joe and Brian. We have the plainest names on the planet here. So the ours were not put into the random baby name generator like this day and age. Like the Hunters and Masons and names like we didn't get that. We got Joe, Brian. It would have been Mike maybe for a backup. So, anyways,
my dad came up with my name because he's trying to spell stuff. He tried to spell stuff with my name and with my middle brother's name, and my mom vetoed him. I was gonna have two middle names so that my initials spelled beer.
Wow.
That was what my dad tried to do, and my mom vetoed that.
Well, your middle name is Ebenezer, so...
No, it's not.
Oh,
it's
really
not.
It's
not Ebenezer.
That's been a joke for a while. Yeah. I did that. So you would have been Brian Ebenezer Edward Roach. That's pretty interesting.
Yes, it would have been Brian Earl Edward Roach.
Oh, Edward Roach. Oh, yeah. Man.
And then I'd have been beer, and who knows how my life would have changed. I could have been a beer drinker because my initials spelled beer, and now I can't stand any alcohol at all. So whatever. Who knows?
That's okay. Stick with your flavored seltzer waters or whatever you got there.
I'm almost out. I may have to open one.
Oh, geez, dude, you go through like a 12-pack of those things. Let's look. Okay, so we got through. We made our way through. I feel like I got to bring up at the very least here the TV image that I usually do, just so people know. But if you're anywhere from like the Midwest over in the red for this game, it is on CBS. I know it's an NFC opponent on the road, but this game's 1 o'clock, CBS, Iron Eagle, Charles Davis. Love that crew. Most of, I think all of Ohio and some of Indiana is getting this game. You're all the way down into, oh my goodness, down to New Orleans. You're almost all along the Mississippi River and up the other direction to Minnesota, all the way over, with the exception of, like Buffalo and Indianapolis markets, even a little carve out around Tampa. And then the Dallas area, you're going to get the Steelers. And I got to see what that other game is now, because it's like you're going to get Steelers and Commanders. The other game on deck here, let's see. What is that other one? Denver, Kansas City. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So just keep that in mind if you need to throw on the rabbit ears. If not, you'll have to find some other nefarious means to watch the game 1 o'clock on Sunday. And going from there, just flipping the sides of the ball, Steelers against this offense, it's like a match made in heaven, I would say. The Commanders are third in scoring offense. The Steelers are second in scoring defense, right? Steelers are 13th in scoring offense. Commanders are 11th in scoring defense. They're just married together just so well here. Steelers defensively are 21st against the pass, but 4th against the run. The Commanders are 11th passing and 3rd rushing. They've got that Austin Eckler character running around in the backfield. Brian Robinson, if he's healthy. Jerry McNichols, who was with the Steelers for like a short minute and still hanging around in the league. Maybe like a third down back type of situation. Jaden Daniels, as we know, solid rookie year. The offensive line, Biotish, Nick Allegretti, and Sam Cosme, and then your tackles, Brandon Coleman and Andrew Wiley. We mentioned some of these guys on the injury report. Who does Daniels have to throw to? Zach Ertz, standout tight end for very many years. Scary Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, Olamide Zaccheaus, I'm sorry. And there's just like, there's a lot to go around here on the year. Daniels, almost 2,000 yards passing and 9 touchdowns. McLaurin has 42 catches, 598 yards, 6 touchdowns. And Brian Robinson, 461 yards, 6 touchdowns rushing. They, I want to say that they've put up 400 yards or more of offense in 5 of their 9 games so far this season. Over 300 in all but one game, the very first game of the season. 299 right on the button. So they're going to move the football. But they do leak a little bit on defense. They've given up over 400 twice. Both the AFC North opponents, Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals, 436 and 484, attributed to the Ravens. The Bucs put up 392 on them. Otherwise, they buttoned up a little bit better, but look who they were playing. Giants twice, the Bears, Cardinals, Browns, and Panthers. So there's still a lot of like guesswork. I know I'm looking just purely at this, strictly speaking from the numbers, but Daniels doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Doesn't get sacked a whole lot. He's taken 17 sacks so far this season. 2 interceptions to his name. Also, I would be remiss to not mention that he has 459 yards rushing. It's only 2 yards behind Brian Robinson for the team lead. Eckler has added 282 with 2 touchdowns. Daniels has 4 with his legs. And both of these guys, Robinson and Eckler, also formidable coming out of the backfield, catching passes. It's going to be all hands on deck kind of thing. It's going to be a lot of what kind of matchups, mismatches can Cliff Kingsbury generate for his rookie quarterback. Typically, we would say the Steelers, they handle rookie quarterbacks really well. This guy doesn't play like a rookie.
Yeah, to me, this is the key. The thing that has seemed to bite the Steelers in the butt on defense throughout the season has been communication problems. Right? Miscues, misreads, not passing off correctly, just not all being on the same page the way that they need to be. They will get burned with those kind of things in this game. They have to be buttoned up. I think that they're getting better. I feel like we're seeing less of it, but that's an issue. That is the primary issue that occurs here. They may have to blitz this guy a couple times, right? I don't know that I think the Commanders' offensive line is, this Hall of Fame offensive line. And when you put them up against Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, maybe Nick Herbig, and now you get Smith involved, that's some pressure. Plus Cam Hayward and Benton and Ogunjobi. Like that's a challenge for them, for sure. And I don't know that they faced a offense or a defensive front like that this season. So, I mean, that's on the plus side, but they have got to communicate. And one of the things that's been driving me nuts, because it's driving me nuts in a variety of teams I see, they've got to set the edges correctly. They've got to have lane integrity in their rushing, right? If they don't do those things, he will burn them with that. So, I think there's positives. I think the defense should be able to keep these guys in check to a certain extent. But, man, if they are not on their P's and Q's, it could be an ugly game.
Here we go. That's what I was going to say about, like, Washington can be slowed down. They can be stopped. Last week, they punted, and immediately after the Giants got the ball back, they fumbled 6 plays on their one drive and gave them a really short field, 3 plays, 9 yards. There were some penalty yards in that. They scored 3 straight touchdowns. You cannot have that sort of thing occur here with Steelers. It can't be like that Indianapolis game, for example. It could be some back and forth, maybe like with the Cowboys. They got to be able to stop the run, or they'll just eat up some clock. It'll make it very difficult. The offense, likewise, has to play complementary and give the defense.
Can't settle for field goals. Cannot settle for field goals.
Not only that, guy can't go 3 and out either.
Yeah. Oh, it cannot.
Yeah, cannot go 3 and out. If it does come down to special teams, you have to think the Steelers have the edge. Chris Boswell, they are going to be playing outdoors. Looks like it's going to be pretty decent weather for this game, but you never know. I'm not the weatherman, and we're still 4 days out. So, something I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing. It seems like we cover so damn much, because it's like we almost talked about all 53 players on the Steelers roster. We're giving a lot of props to the Commanders. They have a very fine team. I wouldn't be surprised if this is very competitive. The Steelers are going to come into this game underdogs, but only by 2.5 points. So you have Vegas kind of warming up to this.
That's a push then.
Yeah, 40,
that's a push.
45.5 over under, which now we're thinking there's going to be some points scored in this game, probably at least 20 per side, right? Unless it gets really lopsided. But, the Steelers, like I said, they only have the 2 losses only by 3 points. Some of that is getting, some of these points. I wouldn't say it's necessarily too much garbage time, because even in Indianapolis, they had a chance to maybe drive and win, and they left some points on the field. Likewise, we could say the same with the Cowboys, with Justin Fields as the quarterback there. So I think the turnover battle obviously is going to be in play. Both quarterbacks, they are guys that don't really cough up the football. We also saw that Russell Wilson with that fumble, something we didn't mention, something I finally, as I didn't get to rewatch the game and I saw one of the replays. He got punched in the head, man. Like, did you see that? Like, straight through his face mask and into the ball. So I can't necessarily fault Russ there. That's a tough one. Especially he's a smaller guy. Like Najee Harris, I expect Najee to just like hurdle or whatever, and you got Saquon doing a backwards hurdle now, so now everybody's going to be trying to do that and one up each other.
Please, nobody try and do that. Nobody try and do that. It goes without being said. If they lose the turnover battle, they're probably going to lose the game, right? That's just common sense. And we've said it almost every every week. We've said it almost every single week. The Steelers' defense thrives on getting turnovers. If they don't get those turnovers, they can struggle, right? So, if they lose that turnover battle, that's problematic. Your point about complementary football is 100% true, right? If we do get the turnover, the offense can't come onto the field and then just go 3 and out. That's just not going to work. This is a dangerous team, and nobody should be looking at this going easy out, because it's not. This may be the toughest team they've played all season up to this point.
Very much so. And my last key was going to be, because I didn't outline them. I outlined them on the injury report, but the front 4 for the Commanders, you've got Clelin Ferrell, Deron Payne, Jerzon Newton, rookie, right? Illinois? Yeah, was that this year?
Yeah.
Rookie? Yeah. And Dorrance Armstrong. So they've got to go up against Zach Frazier. Is he coming back? Got it. I joke so much about Brian. He tries to do it like off air here, but that's just hilarious. There it is. Like, tap the Rockies, my friend. Although you're not tapping the Rockies. We're not participating in any.
I'm not tapping anything.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the Polar. It's the Polar seltzer.
That's crazy, man. You picked this up.
It's not hard seltzer. It's just regular old water.
Regular old water, which you picked up. This is the 2%er stuff since we're near the end of the show, but you picked this up. You started this when you went to the Czech Republic as part of like a work trip, right? You didn't do it before.
I went to Vienna, and they said to me, would you, I said, I just want some water with lemon to drink. And they're like, still or sparkling? And I'm like, what the hell? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm like, okay, sparkling, why not? And so I got bubble water, and bubble water is the best, man. Bubble water rocks.
It's good. It's available for you here in the good old US of A, right? Steelers.
That's what's even more ridiculous. I go into the damn grocery store. Now I'm clearly either I've started this trend or the trend was existent and I didn't know about it. There is so much damn seltzer water. And there's new brands, Waterloo, you got Buble, you got like 16. I bought spiced apple seltzer water, which was only so-so. I probably wouldn't buy it again. It was all right. I didn't want to throw it out, but it wasn't that great. But like I have so many choices, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how much seltzer water is out there.
I'm going to go look in my aisle when I get a chance and see what's there because it's not something I've ever gravitated toward. Maybe I'll try. Is it like no, it's not like Clearly Canadian, is it? The old Clearly Canadian, the flavor?
No, because this is literally just water with some natural flavors. You don't get any of that aspartame crap or the sweeteners. Don't get any
ass part of you. I don't want no ass part of you. Aspartame?
That's right. Aspartame. That's what I call it. I refuse to have anything that has the aspartame in it.
Well, just an overall look here with the Steelers. This is an NFC game. It's not a must. 9 games remaining. 6 wins into the season. Playoff picture. They need 4 of the next 9. Could they win at least half of them? I think 10 wins should be good for the postseason. Granted that the games, they don't want to drop some of the tiebreakers that are coming up, and they're all within the division, right? They went 5-1 in the division last year with a far lesser roster, which makes you very hopeful that they could compete, particularly with the Bengals and Browns, and come out of those with more than a split. So how important is this Commanders game? I think it shows them. I think it's a statement. They come out of the bye. They're healthy, a road win, and got a brutal schedule. 4 out of the next 5 on the road? Right? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. It's well, they got Baltimore at home. At some point, there's a stretch like this here. It starts after
3 AFC North games in a row.
3 AFC North.
Baltimore.
Yes. So that's where it starts. After Baltimore, you've got Browns on the road Thursday night, Bengals on the road, Browns at home, and then on the road for the Eagles and the Ravens after that. And some of these are short weeks, the Thursday night game and then the Saturday game against the Ravens.
Game. So you got a short week with Saturday, then you've got a short week with a Wednesday game.
Yeah, following right after that. And the Ravens have the same. They have to play on Christmas also. And it looks like it would come down to the wire. Really, when you're talking about overall record, you want to keep pace because when you look around, you're talking about seeding and whatnot, but you've got the damn Kansas City Chiefs are 8-0. Like, nobody's been able to touch that and dethrone them yet.
I'm going to throw this out there right now. They're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dude, I really feel like it. I feel like the Chiefs, even with Hopkins, I feel like they're down. They're down. It's still a little early for me to be that confident. You got the Buffalo Bills at 7-2. The Ravens are at 6-3. The Texans are at 6-3. So, and you got a couple other teams sniffing around too. Like the Chargers are 5-3. Denver is 5-4. So those are the other teams in the AFC that are north of 500. And then that's it. Everybody else is like way down. Like New England's got 2 wins. Browns have 2 wins. Titans, Jacksonville, and Las Vegas, they all have just 2 wins also. So there's a lot of bad teams in the AFC, but there's still a lot of good teams on this schedule. What I'm saying is it's not the end. It's not the end of the season if this is a complicated game.
I will tell you that my tune will change depending on how tonight goes.
Okay.
Right? Ravens, if the Ravens lose to the Bengals, then I don't really care what happens on Sunday. I mean, of course I want them to win, right? But if the Ravens manage to lose the game to the Bengals, there's cushion there, right? That makes me happy. But if the Ravens blow the crap out of the Bengals tonight, then I'm going to feel like this is a more important game just because you want to have that edge, right? You want to keep that edge. Look, it is going to come down to the AFC North games, and the fact that we have 4 in a row that's part of the most brutal aspect of this schedule. 4 division games, one after the other, when AFC North division games are absolutely brutal. So I'm gonna caveat my Kansas City Chiefs statement. If that's provided that they don't get beat to hell, right? If we're not injured, if we're not missing key elements, things like that. I think it's very important for this team to come out of the break and make a statement that says we deserve to be considered a contender, right? And you can do that against a very good Washington Commanders team, right? If you beat, even if you are just competitive and you win and eke out a win, right, on the road, that's a statement. If you dominate this game, that is a statement, right? And it sends a message to the rest of the league that says you don't want to play us, right? We're rolling. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to go, but I do think that there's a level of importance that has nothing to do with the record. It has nothing to do with whether this is an NFC game or an AFC game. It simply has to do with the mental state that they can be in if they go out and build the confidence by winning a game against a very good team.
Yeah, you've got Baltimore is going to be on a mini bye because they play the Thursday game. We'll see how healthy they are coming out of that game. We're recording now early Thursday, so that'll be tonight's game. And then also the Bengals the Browns get the Steelers on a short week, and then the Bengals also have a bye before one of their games. Then they play the Steelers. It's like, man, this is brutal. It is tough to set up the division in such a way. Like the Steelers aren't getting now. The Steelers will have that mini bye before they face the Bengals too, so that kind of balances out just a little bit.
Year.
Yeah,
the game that maybe doesn't even matter.
well, 2 mini buys then, because they have the Wednesday game and then the one that may not even matter. We'll see. The only thing that I will, I'm not going to say I disagree with you, but I will counter. I will give you the what's the word I'm looking for? Not like conflicting the. Contrarian view on the Bengals beat the Ravens and they're a 5-5 football club. I don't want to see that team rise from the ashes because I don't want them in the picture necessarily. Like, I'd be happy to bury the Ravens and put some distance between the Steelers and Ravens. But when I look at the Bengals schedule and I see what they've got coming up, they still have a bye coming up. They've got 2 road games. Oh, this is bad. So Thursday night, obviously, against the Ravens. Then they got to go to L.A. They get the bye week before the Steelers that they host at home.
Chargers,
yes. Chargers.
That's going to be a tough out for them in L.A.
Then they got to go to Dallas after the Steelers game. That's going to be rough, real rough for them.
If Micah comes back, if Micah Parsons is back, then that's a more problematic game. But I don't have any faith in the Cowboys. They stink.
To Tennessee, host Cleveland, host Denver, to Pittsburgh. That's they got a tough schedule. Also
going to be tough.
They got a tough schedule to finish out here, so I just don't want to see them. I don't know. That's tough sledding again. Like, you could give them like a gimme maybe against the Titans, but man, the Chargers and even a healthy Cowboys team that's getting Bland back, might have Parsons back. Yeah, that might be tough.
Well, they don't have Zach either.
Yeah,
Prescott's hurt, but I mean, look, T. Higgins. The last I heard was hurt. If he doesn't play tonight, they're probably not.
Yeah, right. I had it wrong with the Raiders too. I thought that was going to be more of a game script where they would run the football, but they made that trade. That's the only one we didn't talk about. Khalil Herbert coming over from the Bears. They needed something because Zach Moss apparently he's going to be done. I think the word out of there is a neck injury. And they just they haven't been able to run the ball even with Mixon. It was the reason they got rid of Mixon. They thought the problem was Mixon. I think the problem is either scheme or offensive line. Yeah, it's either scheme, talent, or a mix of both. So it'll be interesting, Brian. We do have the tougher end of the schedule coming here. We're back from a bye. Football Sunday, 1:00, Veterans Day weekend in Washington, D.C. It's kind of cool, man. So
I mean, we're off on Monday?
Hopefully. Some of us get the bank holiday, some of us don't. So
I don't want to be off.
So I will I may catch up with you or Flash by that time. Hopefully we have some good news. The Steelers keep rolling. They still keep pace in the rest of the AFC with the Bills and with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, we got to get a three-headed monster pod before the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm working on that, trying to see if we could fit a 3-box in here, as like Scott Hansen would say on the NFL Red Zone. We got the 3-box up. We'll see if we could do that and get all 3 of us. I think it'll be kind of wild, and that'd be fun too. So, folks, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you have, thank you for supporting Steel City Underground. Check us out on the web too, steelcityunderground.com. We're everywhere else on social media. You can watch this show on YouTube. You can watch it on Spotify. You can listen just about everywhere else as well. And then we close this out usually by saying, my name's Joe, and his name is Brian. And we encourage all of our viewers and listeners out there. Until next time, be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.